Hey everybody, Glenn from Glenn's Garage. All right, update to where we were at. Accessory belt is off. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna show you. Oh, it's in the car. When I looked at the accessory belt, I turned it inside out basically and folded it, and you can see all the cracks and valleys and stuff. So that thing was totally ready to go. All right, we talked earlier about that right there, which is the accessory belt drive tensioner, and that has my particular model does not have the 10 millimeter bolts, I believe, right in the center of the pulley or tensioner. And as a result, right there in the middle of the screen, I think I switched cameras on me. There it is. Right there in the middle of the screen. Hold it steady here. Is a star bit. That is a T60 star. All right, so that is off. Now we're moving on to the timing belt, the water pump. Let's take a look up here because I have dual variable valve. Let me zoom out for you. Okay, I have one on the intake. I have one on the exhaust cam. So I have two adjustables. And if you haven't seen these adjustables before, each one has on the gear around the hub 3 8 mil bolts that loosen, and as you can see, it's slotted for adjustment. Now that's going to come into play a little bit later on when we put everything back together, but wanted to come over here real quick and get everyone kind of dialed in. This is the driver's side part of the motor. We had to take off the cross member bar. I put it back on just temporarily just to get it out of the way. We've had to take off the engine mount. We've had to take off the engine mount or bracket to the side of the head, and then we also had to take off basically this holding piece. Let's see what it is. There we go. This bracket, which holds the various wires and connections in here. Now, mine again with a dual variable valve cam timing has an electronic cap here, and one in the back here. Okay, good ad for Calvin Klein. One in the back. So these caps are loose. Okay, they're ready to go. Engine mount bolts I've left in the block just because I lose things and I don't want to be, or when I put them down, since I don't do this all in one fell swoop, I go ahead and leave them where I found them, type of thing. I did have interesting note on this particular bracket. This actually goes to the side of the head in the block like this, and it mounts right there. It mounts the backside hole of the engine mount, and then this is the front side hole. If you notice, I kind of have a hole here, and that's because that bolt actually snapped off a while back, actually, when I put on the new IPD engine mount. And for some reason, I didn't realize it was just a bracket. I thought it was actually in the head. So that is going to be getting a new bolt. But thank you to Bob Workman's Volvo here in North County, San Diego. We were able to get that extracted pretty easily. And I was happy that I didn't have to bring the whole block in to them. So we're good there. All right, so let's show you where we are at. So we're ready to go on with the cam locking tool. This cap and this cap will come off, and it exposes the cams, and that is where the locking tool will go. And I think we're pretty close to timed because I spun it around a couple of times earlier, but here's where we went since then. Okay, front wheel off. As I mentioned in the video last time, this flap folds back, and I've got a pair of needle nose vice grips holding it back. Now, I am already clear to the timing belt pulley that's on the crankshaft. There is my crankshaft. It comes off with a 30mm heavy-duty impact. Can't get it off. You can't get off with a breaker bar, but the impact was definitely the way to go. Thank you, Milwaukee, for that. And that we broke off. That's a zoomy. All right, so we're good there. All right. My pulley just happens to be missing half of this grommet surround. Goes off to there, and then it has basically disintegrated, and so there's a little groove there that's missing basically part of the rubber dampening of this. So this part going into the scrap heap, get some recycling money for it, and we'll have to get either a new one, or if I can locate a used one for cheap. I think at this point in time at 200,000 miles, I think they're $1, might be $1.50 or so. But in any event, back to our engine. All right, so that came off with the 30mm nut, drove it out. Then on top of it, if you hadn't noticed, there were 4 10mm bolts that go around the surround, and then there is the pin that goes into the back of it. So just a little bit of penetrating oil, and the 30mm nut came off. Then of course the 4 10s. Then we just needed a little bit of rubber mallet on it, on that, to get it basically wiggled off of that dowel pin there. Okay, now here's the important part, and we're getting ready to lock down the cams for timing. Without that flywheel off of the timing belt, I'm going to call it a pulley, if you will, that is mounted to the oil pump back there and mounted under the crankshaft, we cannot see very well the groove that's on here. And let me see if I can do this. Don't want that. Want that. Okay. So we're going up right up under. Now the fender, okay, actually the metal part of the fender frame with those what they call those pinch bolt or pinch rivets, I think they're called. But here's what we're looking for. That timing mark right there. And it gets to line up with that part right on the block. See the little mark there? All right. Now we're a little off, which is fine for now. But just showing you what everyone else and all the other videos is like trying to get at. Now, they say that there are marks on the back part of the gear, okay? But my understanding is that this timing mark is to line up directly with that little crosshair, remember, see the little L, is that an L? Yeah. And then right at the corner, the bottom corner of the L, is that mark. So we're really close here. We'll give it a little dial real quick. And a little bit more of a twist. We want to do everything we can to not go backwards with the crankshaft and the cams. That's probably going to be a little too much, but it's not a huge deal. So this is going to be the crank timing. All right, so, okay. And I would say We're half past, I forget what the saying is, but we are just a tad. I really will. I located my little tripod thing too. So now again, not wanting to go backwards with this, but it's not gonna kill me to go, except that is gonna break the nut free. So in that event, what I can do, watch this. These bolts are pretty long. Show you what I'm doing. It's gonna back up. I was just gonna rotate this backwards a little bit, but these bolts are really long. So what I'm gonna do, and I just need to do it a smidge, I'm just gonna pull those back out like that a little bit. And get my extension here. It will come off. And I'm just gonna do a little backwards pull on this. Let's see if that budged it at all. Okay. Going right up and looking at it. I mean, there's pretty flat. So it is just a skosh in front. Now what I need to do is, once you have that in alignment, we need to confirm that we have both of the cam sprocket timing marks showing up. Let's go ahead and get rid of Mr. Power Steering. Go ahead and get rid of Mr. Water Bottle. Mr. Power Steering. Let's break them free here. And get them over the top here. There we go. Oopsie daisy. And take them way back there. All right. Now, that should be interesting. Now, okay. Timing mark, front cam, intake. Probably the where is it? That's actually an upside down M. But here's my timing mark. Okay. And we're looking to be lined up in the hood of the cover, the notch on the cover. Get my fingers out of the way. Okay, there's our notch, and there's our timing mark. Good here. It's just a you know, I would put it a half. See if I can, there, it's perfectly level. So I would put it, you know, it's just a little advanced, okay, for now. And we'll see a little bit later on the backside, the cams will actually have a particular alignment on the backside of the cam. But for right now, I'm gonna come in, we're gonna go sideways. This might be too close, but we have the timing belt. Let's see, are we zoomed out? Okay, let's zoom out. And this is the hard part. It really is. As far as from a like educational, show me kind of standpoint. Okay, there's our timing mark. Now, what we're looking for is that timing mark on the pulley, or on the gear, timing gear. Now, if I bring this up and see how that's advanced. Okay, I've got my phone pretty level. okay, which means I've got, so I'm looking pretty much straight on with the camera, and you can see how that's advanced, definitely. So 2 options. I can go around 2 times on the crank, which will bring these back up around, or like I was trying to do with those bolts, was back this up just a bit. And in my particular case, since this car hasn't been timed ever that I'm aware of, whoever did it, okay, there's the adjustment cam. And again, I'm like, okay, this is going to be, that's a full, so here I'm looking at the tooth and it's on the front side of the valley towards the front of the car. If I go over here, we're about 1 tooth off. Okay, because this timing mark should be back right to this tooth here. If I had a pointer, I have my finger. But basically, see if I can hold it and do it. Okay, coming in. This, if we go straight up, comes in right about here on the cover. Okay, and then if I go 1 tooth back to this valley, let me readjust my camera so I haven't, it's getting in the way, the sunlight. Let's see if I can get it to readjust. Oh, there it is. Let me get to level again. Okay. So if I come straight up from this one, I'm actually in that valley. Okay. Where is it? There it is. It's hard to see right now because that sun's coming in. There. Okay. So let me get the camera flat again. Okay. 1 tooth there. I come over here. 1 tooth, I'm in it. So I'm about a tooth ahead. Which, if I turn the crank 1 time, that gets me 180 degrees. So you do a full 360 on the crank. That gets me 180 degrees here to here. So 1 tooth off down here is literally going to be just a small amount. Of back on it. So again, I'll back these out. I'm going to back this nut off. Because I don't need it on there right now. Okay, I'm just going to back these guys out a little bit. Show you how long they are. They're plenty long. There you go. So I mean, if I go in halfway, okay, and we're just going to use now. There's probably someone out there that'll be like, well, you're going backwards with the crankshaft, and that's not good. So, but I know that in talking with some others, basically, we're talking about a very small kind of movement, and that's going to be okay. There. Barely a smidge. Back. We'll take a look. Okay. Camera's good there. And we're right on as far as the crank goes. Sorry, having a hard time keeping it steady. Get it level. Okay. Go up just a smidge. Zoom in. Get it kind of straight on. I mean, that's darn near perf. Go one more little small twist with it. I'm barely putting any pressure into that. All right, so let's go here. Let's bring it down. See? And there we are. We're definitely dead nuts. Let's get it straightened. That's camera level. Camera right in front. Dead center. Up, down, any way you slice it. I mean, we're working with that. Now, the hard part that I've been trying to figure out is when that pulley sits on there, it actually covers most of that. My question is as to whether or not we see on the teeth, okay, that's the cam, okay, sorry, that's the hub. Whether or not at any point in time you see anything with regards to any marks on the gear teeth. And that's the part that I've been having a problem in these videos that everyone has seen, is that there's supposed to be a mark like right on that tooth, like right on the top and right on there. Or what they were saying was that this mark on the, basically the sprocket cap, or the hub, I wouldn't call it a hubcap, but okay, on that hub assembly onto that gear, okay, the cam gear. So that's where the timing mark is. Now, from above, that timing mark may stick out with the pulley on, but man, if I was hard pressed to find it, I'll tell you that. So from that standpoint, from what I was able to see, no way, no how. Now, I happen to be doing the camshaft seal, so I had to take this stuff off anyway. My understanding is that this hub with the splines is going to require a puller to be taken off, but we're going to see after we get the timing belt. But all right, so we know timing belt is now basically right on where it should be. All right, can't get much closer than that. If anything, it might be just a smidge back. So for giggles, and honestly, I don't think it needs to be this accurate, but we'll put this nut back on. Okay, I'm going to use two hands here, so I'm just going to put this down here for just a second. Get a big boy back on, and I only want like one little movement. I think that's what I needed, what I wanted to do. Take a look at it again. Okay, right head on. Zooming in from the hub. Camera is now level. Moving over. Picture. All right, so that's, we're there. Like, you can't even, pretty sure it doesn't need to be that precise, but just for giggles, we're there. Now let's go check upstairs for the cams and their marks. All right. Okay, cam mark number one. now. Somebody zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay. Get some light on this subject here. Light. There we go. All right. So now we have camera level, and we can now see with our timing mark, it's lining up right there. So if I bring the camera around to that proper angle, I've got a grid set up on my phone screen. And so I've got this timing mark and this tooth going right up into that mark on the cover. Okay, slide down here. And again, there is the mark, and I need to be about a half a tooth over. And again, loosening those bolts. So as far as from a timing standpoint, this thing is locked in. All right. So we are now good to lock cams. Okay. And that is where we will pick it up on the next video, because I need to go get the cam unit and cam locking tool, and then we can get the tripod as well, and then we can work from there. So just to take a look-see. These are already loose, so I'm gonna go over here real quick, if you can see it right there. That we're gonna pull off. Carefully, don't drop them. Although I do have the skid plate off right now. But in this particular case, and I don't need to undo the electrical connection. That's got enough length to it. It's really not in the way. With the T-bit that pulls these out, make it a little bit of an easier task, but I basically had them in there from yesterday. And I got everything stripped out just to, I just put them back in to keep the covers on until today. Let's see, sorry. Get this bad dog out. There's one out. The old secret storage bin up there. This has a little plug that went into the bracket once the bracket's back on. It might actually go in this, might actually go in that hole right there, but we'll see when we reassemble. All right, up we go. So before looking at everything, I made the mistake of getting the aluminum caps that are one-time use that go back here to cover the camshafts. But since I have the T5 motor, all right, and that can get out of the way. Okay, that actually exposes this guy right here. I loosened these. These were actually pretty, actually, I go back here while we're at it. I just have a habit of not forgetting, so I don't want to forget this stuff. So we're just gonna put these screws back in, because we're putting a little cam locking tool in next. And then we'll start with disassembling the belt disassembling the hubs, disassembling the crankshaft gear that's down there. It's not really a gear, kind of the tooth pulley for the timing belt. And we'll disassemble the water pump and get a new water pump in. Hopefully that'll be the next sauce. And then we'll deal with the cam seals on another video after that. All right, so those guys are in there. Plenty fine. This was a different T size. I'll get you the sizes. It might have been a 25 on that guy. This one I think might have been a 30, if I'm not mistaken, or it possibly could have been a 40. All right. Turbo inlet pipe. Greasy back here on this one. So I actually am looking at a lot of the grease coming from the top of the head. I still don't have a CV issue, but what I may have, and I'll go show you, is that the clamps on this car are so dang old that I probably have the issue that I have because of, okay, now this cap is off, and that's just gonna go, that's just gonna lay down for me right there. Here's what I think the issue is that clamp right there, I think, is causing all the grease and stuff. So I'm gonna have to get, this is hard plastic. This is hard plastic, all part of the PCV connection. But I think that what I need to do is either tighten that guy up or tighten them up and clean it up, and then keep an eye on it and see what happens. So, all right, real quick, I did take these off earlier. Let me see if I have my 10 here. I do. All on long extensions though. But these were a pretty solid, like, they were in there, and they have a torque value. So when we get back to going back around, so basically I left everything on, and went ahead and loosened these so that the torque that I needed to get them off, I don't know, they might be around 40, 50 foot-pounds, not quite sure, but we'll get this off. All right, so this is basically the actuator for the sensor, and it's weighted, most likely magnetized, and it has this pattern. Okay, the pattern is like this going into the block, so as it rotates around, and I'll show you here. The cam grooves, okay, are right there, and then there's the notch, and that one's going to be up at 2 o'clock, and that's just kind of a double check. I wouldn't personally leave it to that. And so you can't mess these. It's almost like a stator to me, if you will, because basically it's going to go around with the cam and basically hit the firing the solenoid, okay, on the inside magnetically, and that in and of itself will give it, you know, the electronic adjustability and let the electronic ignition do its thing. So both of these are loose, so I'm not actually affecting the timing at all over on the other side. And once they're out, we can take a look in here and we'll see that. I get the tube out of the way. you will see that now we have the left and right slots, and then we also have the what do you want to call it, keyway, down at about the 4 or 5 o'clock. That's 3, that's 4, call it 5 o'clock. Okay, so these can't be messed up. In other words, I can't take the, basically, again, it's almost like acting like a stator of the magnet. And there's also part numbers to this as well. Someone, I saw this the other day. So that you can't get it messed up either. The Austria, the 8622 468. Okay. And if I try to put this one into this, try to input to the input side, as you can tell, once you take a look at it, like this one is designed to go in, if it's going in flat, it's either on the bottom side, or if it goes in flat, it's basically like at the 1 o'clock mark. So it's not going to actually, sorry, when it spins around, it actually goes top, and they're a little off center, by the way. If you can see this, those points are just a little off center of the center of the through bolt. And so as a result, that guy would come over here. As it rotates over, it would be at like 11 o'clock. So there's no way to get these wrong. But again, part number for the rear, and of course, the part number for the front. In my particular application is the 8006, I believe. Yes. 865 8006, not 007. And this is the 862 2468. Rear. The other one is the front. Okay, won't need those. Go ahead and rethread these back in so that I know where they go. We'll actually clean up that cam journal kind of area. I'm not quite sure whether I don't think I actually have a bad seal in the rear seal. What I think it is again, I just think it's the oil that's flowing across the top of the head from that connection from the PCV. Of course, it's probably a sign that the PCV is getting ready to let go or not work correctly, or just clogged enough to the point it's providing a lot of back pressure. But for right now, with the budget, we're basically trying to get back to registration, and I need to heat up the cap, and we're at 225,000 miles. So ultimately, I needed to get this timing belt and water pump done, because I just can't be running high boost for long periods of time while I try to get the catalytic converter heated up enough to be able to pass California admissions, to then see how nice that polishes up. But this is pretty crusty, so we'll do some cleanup on aisle 3. Do our best to clean up this mess off camera, and we'll get her all looking, fancy and clean for the install. So with that, we are good to go. Next up is the cam locking tool, which will lock those cams in place. Then I can go and pull the tensioner, pull the belt, pull everything, and start getting on the seals and also on the water pump. So with that, thank you so very much for watching. Have yourself a great amount of time before you happen to visit again. And again, thanks for coming by and taking a look-see as we get this 225,000 mile service done, and hopefully provide you some information and some confidence to be able to do the job yourself, just like I've been able to do. All right, signing off. Talk to you soon.